Hello, welcome to Wrestleopinionated. This is our weekly show all about the shows of AEW. We are your hosts. I'm Morg, and this is...
I've watched too much wrestling, Matt Strange.
It's the story of our life quite often.
Oh, mate, I've watched live wrestling. I'm gonna mention it later as well. I had 3 hours of live wrestling this week.
Very quickly, is Mr Muir alive?
He is. I think he's just having a break from wrestling. He tends to overdo things, so
Yeah, no, that's fair.
He'll be back at some point with
Might
his
be
normal
time
chipper
to
self.
tag our young lion back in.
Yeah, we'll try and I'll try and bait him back in for another one, or anybody else who fancies a go.
Yes. Right, as I forgot it last week.
Oh.
This might be the first time you've listened to our podcast, and as such you'd need to know that we have a tier system, which is how we give our reviews, how we score individual matches of Rampage and Dynamite. Yeah, we're not
good at this.
reviewing BTE at the moment, mainly because we haven't got Mr Muir here, who's
I don't care
BTE
about
guy,
shoes.
and they're talking too much about shoes. Mr Strange, are you ready to explain the tier system?
Of course I am. So, tier list. You all know a good tier list from the internet. We alphabetically rank our matches and segments in an ascending scale. Our lowest rank is a D rank match or segment. That's a bad match or segment. Maybe it's too short. Maybe it's a squash match. Maybe it was just shitty and didn't get the character over. Either way, it's a D. Average match should be good, and a good match is a C rank. Doesn't have to blow your mind, but you're engaged with the wrestling in the ring, or the promo gets the character over enough, and you're just pleased. The time wasn't wasted. C. From there we go up to a B, or match +1, or segment +1. Something that really good and crisp in the ring. It's not like blowing your mind, but, you know, it's better. You keep your eyes on it. The promo work gets the characters over. You know who they are and why they are. That's a B. A. Fucking awesome, amazing stuff. The ring... in the ring, the match is just fucking ass-kicking and cool stuff you like. Sure, this can vary by taste. Some of us are more spot-heavy. Some of us are more brutality-heavy. The characters there, you know why they're there. It's good shit. A, top of the moment. The promo work, you talk about your friends about. We've got a few solid B rankers who push into the A quite a lot. So, you know, it goes across everything. And S. S-rank moments are phenomenal moments in wrestling that blow everything away. Maybe it's luchadors versus ninjas. Maybe it's Jericho releasing the hounds on a drone. Undead wizards. Or just a phenomenal tag match that you just send gifs of and everything to your mates. S comes out every now and then. It's the shining star of wrestling. So D, shitty. C, good. B, very good. A, awesome. S, this is a magical moment to share with my friends.
Fantastic. So now we cut over to the news. Do you want to lead off with your little bit and then I'll do my little bit?
Yeah, mate. Rampage, with its 2-hour show, because it was going head-to-head with SmackDown, apparently, beat SmackDown, brackets, in the demos. I'm not too big on shouting about wrestling numbers. I like it when everyone does well. But the entire internet and Tony Khan and the staff of AEW are very excited about having beat SmackDown in the demos, which is apparently the important advertising side. I don't know. Numbers should never have been given names. We can't trust them.
Yeah, it's a good sign for us as fans of AEW.
As long as we don't go full dubsy-dub.
Yeah. So moving on, another bit of Tony Khan news. Again, I'm going to be quite vague about this on purpose. It is possible we've had some spoilers for Full Gear. Tony Khan had a photo of himself taken, holding a notepad with some names of some matches.
Tony!
I've got two spoilers, and I've got two spoilers in the grand scheme of things, which is what two of the matches are, because I managed to switch off my brain as I realised what was happening. And I have a spoiler of... Apparently some of the names were circled. And I may have a big spoiler depending on what that circle means.
I mean, they've got to change some of them, surely.
This one, I don't think... If they change this one, I'll not be happy.
All right. Okay. Do I want to know? Do our listeners want to know?
Okay, so do you want to know And it's one that is pretty obvious to us and is something we've been after for a while.
Is it the championship?
It is the championship. Right, so spoiler warning. I recommend, if you don't want a spoiler for this, skip ahead probably about 30 seconds. So that's your spoiler warning. 3, 2, 1. So Hangman versus Kenny, and Hangman's name has got a circle around it.
Okay, could be time, might not be.
I think it is.
I think we have to stop now. 30 seconds.
Yeah. So there you go. There was a slight possible spoiler that may not be a spoiler, and of course Tony Khan may have changed his mind, though I don't believe he's
got to change some of it now. If that photo was accurate, you've got to change it. Or do you go through with it? It's the age-old thing. If they project your television program, do you go against the writing? Who knows?
Yeah. It's that thing that Dub-Z always do, where they'll change it if the fans work it out, but sometimes it was the right way, just the right way to go. Anyway,
let's wait and see. When is Full Gear?
Yeah, a couple of weeks.
Hooray!
13th. It's on a Saturday.
Ooh, thank fucking Christ.
Yeah. It's advertised on Fighters on the Sunday, but they advertised it as on the Saturday on the show repeatedly, and the Raptor and I looked it up. So yes.
Good to know. Get your friends together, drink some beers, watch some wrestling. Hopefully it's amazing.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I think this may be one for us to try and get together and work out some way of watching.
Yeah. Is that all the news?
That's all the news I've got at the moment.
I'm going to do wrestling adjacent. Wrestling adjacent. It's a long-lasting part of the show. Watched a bunch more of the latest Dark Side of the Rings. They're still coming out. We've got some on the Ultimate Warrior. We've got the Pillman ones, obviously, that came out earlier in the year. And next week's one is the steroid scandal. So if you enjoy wrestling drama and some wrestling comedy, I'd always recommend watching Season 1's David Schultz episode, because it's phenomenal and the man is unfathomably based. Watch it. It's good. It's good to see the other side of wrestling, especially the side that has mostly been beaten out now, shall we say. And part 2 of Wrestling Adjacent, go see your local wrestling people. I went up to Coventry Pro Wrestling, CPW, famously where Millie McKenzie, previous UK NXT champion, women's champion, was trained. Was it the greatest wrestling show in the world? No. Did I have 3 hours of solid entertainment with a bunch of people of varying skill, pulling off some comedy wrestling, some more brutal wrestling, some technical wrestling, with sort of, it was a little bit pantomimey and dressed up. It was a bit more kid-friendly, but I got to sit with a bunch of random people I've never known at the front, interact with some wrestlers. I got a hug off the champion Bowden, who I'd never heard of before then. Drank some beers and supported my local wrestlers. And you never know where they'll go on to. Mr. Anderson / Kenny, Mr. Anderson Kennedy, that one, has performed at CPW. Your local, even bigger indie stars will perform around and be in these shows. So go to your local wrestling show. You're not going to have one far. Give them a tenner for the night. Get 3 hours of people jumping on floorboards. And, support the local wrestling stuff. There we go. Look at me, positive today.
I know, I'm impressed. Will you keep that positivity up is the big question.
Oh, who knows?
It's time to review, and I believe we're going to be kicking off with you and Rampage.
Oh, we do. We have to go with
this week.
Rampage.
Kick off with the buy-in.
Rampage 1, as I've got it down. Ricky Starks, Taz, and Excalibur on commentary, and they stay with it through the entirety of Rampage. Our opening match is Ty Conti versus Santana Garrett, and Conti wins with the DD tie, which is better than the Ty KO. It's just a much better move, even though it's just a fancy DDT. Solid women match. Garrett got some good offense in. Conti's obviously good. She did her pump kicks and her stuff. Nothing special, but clean enough solid women's match. I don't really have a lot to say on it, but we've got a lot of wrestling to go through. I gave it a C. What do you think?
I gave it a C also. I think you've pretty summed it up pretty well.
It was alright.
It was good, yeah.
Then the Boomer people did a promo about MMA people. Usual catch-up of events with commentary and people doing interviews. It's an AEW standard now. They explained who Junior Del Santos and Master Doll were. That was nice for me. I suppose this is what the non-NJPW fans go through. And Mox does one of his things. Santos was a better promo than Master Doll. Yeah, it was, once again, it was all right. I could use a break from Boomer people, but you're probably going to hear that a bit through this review. Anything to add?
No, it was okay, and I agree with you as well. Though I do think that Master Doll had the harder promo of the two of them.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, actually, I do have another quick bit of news that I just want to mention very quickly.
Go on.
So apparently Roman Reigns called out was calling out CM Punk, going on about how he's nothing special, and that from what he's seen, he'll take Punk and he'd chuck him out of a club, and he'd chuck the rest of the AEW roster out of a club as well. At which point, a new member of the AEW roster who debuted on this particular episode of Rampage, a certain Junior Dos Santos, turned around and tweeted Roman Reigns going, when and where is this club you're going to kick us out of?
That's pretty amazing. Just go with like him, take Nick Comoroto, Jake Hager, Wardlow.
To be fair, I think him and Master Doll on your own.
Yeah, you want to take some of the bigger,
yes.
The boys on the roster though.
But yes, sorry, back to
fair play. I didn't realise they were getting so tied that it counts as AEW now. That's nice. They have done a lot of work with them. Right, anyway, on with it. Next is Lee Moriarty versus Bobby Fish. Bobby wins with an enziguri that had a name. Sorry. A little bit of a slow start, but it was clean. Technical match with strikes, which obviously I like, but they had to warm up to each other, I'd say. The chemistry had to pick up through the match. It was solid, uninspiring, but solid. Moriarty got a really good showing, though, did some limb work. Possibly a better showing for him than Fish in this match, but the Fish-Sammy match was phenomenal, so I'm not going to criticise him. And a good pickup for the end of it. Once again, a C. Good wrestling.
I gave this a high C.
Yeah, fair. It goes a bit in each way.
Yeah. I thought this was really solid. It wasn't enough for it to tip over into the B, but it was a solid, and I thought it was a good, solid match.
Yeah, no, it was
maybe a bit more storyline going in, and I might have argued for the B.
Yeah. I'm with you. Fish is I'm liking Fish. I think he could use a little bit more flair, but we'll talk about that very shortly. Or a bit more later, I suppose more. Then we got a video package for Murder Vegan versus Murder Grandpa, Suzuki versus Danielson. Once again, they've got this down. So people do some talking. Lots of videos of Brian set to generic rock music, kneeing people and stuff. Built Suzuki back up again. I have complained about how he's been used in AEW so far, but I think this added weight to who he was again. And yeah, the solid usual stuff. You ready, Morg?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Right, okay. Bryan Danielson versus Minoru Suzuki. Bryan wins with a fucking Hadouken knee strike. I don't know if it's got a name, but he started off technically, but it was lacking in chemistry. I could see these two boys weren't quite on the same page to begin with. I don't know if it were. Some of the grappling and holds looked more realistically like a struggle, but didn't feel like a wrestling match. I would say that Suzuki already looked better than his matches with Moxley in this. Sound critical, don't I? Then we built up into the chopper and kicker, which is wonderful. I love those spots, and the two of them do them well. Danielson sold like death for that one elbow from Suzuki, which cut his cheek a little bit, so fair play. They just got a bit more chemistry by essentially relying on the fact they can just hurt each other from what I can see. So it had a slower pace, not awkwardly so. A couple of pickups from both of them on both sides. We got the kicks to the chest, a sit-up Suzuki spot. Danielson did it back to him, which was fucking cool. We got some great submission spots as it properly picked up towards the end. Strikes exchange might have gone on a bit of a while for some people, but for me and the crowd, it was great. Even better technical exchanges near the end. So yeah, it started slow and clumsy. And then when I think they just went, if we just hurt each other, it'll look good. It was pretty fucking great. And I think Danielson showed Suzuki to be who he's meant to be. Like, although he lost, I think he looked a lot more powerful than in any of the other matches we've seen him. I don't know if it was mind-blowing, so I'm going to give it a B. I really enjoyed this match. It had, I think if the start, I'm not against the slower pace, but if the start had just been a bit tighter or a bit more comforting, I could well be up into a high B or A, but I'm giving it a B. I liked it a lot.
Interesting. This is my match of the week.
Oh!
This got a low A from me. I really enjoyed it. I didn't mind that slow start. It felt very New Japan to me.
No, I'm with you. They just seemed a bit clumsy.
Which is how I feel that a lot of the New Japan matches that we've watched, the really good ones, they always start quite slow. They have a feeling out period. And that's all that felt like to me. It didn't feel. I don't want to say clumsy, but I mean you felt it did, but to me it didn't. It just felt like they were having that feeling out period, deciding each other, and then they just decided to go for it.
Oh, there were so many.
Yeah. I gave it
a
low A.
Low A. We'll round it to a high B. Did it look like Suzuki was hitting Danielson a lot harder than he hit Moxley, or was it me? Like I looked at some of the exchanges with Moxley, and I was like, oh, that's not as strong style as I know. And then those two just fucking went for it, and I was like, yay!
I think it's a different style because Mox is more of a classic hardcore brawler, so he gets his reputation from doing the more hard, it's hard hitting brawling, whereas Danielson is effectively he's the strong style guy who's never been to the strong style arena.
He is currently probably one of my favorite wrestlers, and didn't want to be like, yay, the indie man's back and he's been to WWE or anything, but he's coming. I'm like, I fucking love this guy. He's great. The death in his eyes whenever he does anything. Anyway, on with the main show of Rampage. Phil versus Sydal. CM Punk versus Matt Sydal. Punk wins with the go to sleep. Once again, good. I had a good time. I like the respectful start. I thought that was a nice showing for both of them. Solid and technical, both able. Sydal started with most of the work. He took the lead for the first part of the match. Punk slow up. Everything he did was crisp and clean. Can't criticize him. As much as I would love to hate CM Punk, he's all right. Sydal got body slammed at one point, and he did this. Well, was gonna, and he did this weird bendy counter escape thing where he escaped like a fucking slinky, and it was magical, and that's the only way I can describe it. The match was very even, which was also nice to me, and the two of them had a lot of chemistry. Punk seems to have lost a lot of that ring rust I said he probably had in his earlier matches. He got some better sequences, more momentum in the match for him. Don't think Punk should have kicked out of Sydal's finisher after he got a load of beating as well. But in all honesty, that's probably my only criticism with the match, and I gave it a B. Like, it was match plus one. It was good. I liked it.
Phew. I don't need to downgrade it. I gave it a B as well.
The test. It's a Punk match. Does it need to go down a rank?
Yeah, I enjoyed this. I think one of the things that helped this match was this was the first time in AEW that Punk's wrestled someone he knows. And he's wrestled before. And he said that he thinks that him and Rey Mysterio could just get in the ring together. Because they've wrestled each other so many times.
Yeah, just that natural chemistry and knowing what they're going to do.
They know each other, that he could just get in the ring, and I have a feeling that this was very similar to that. I actually was kind of in the club of thinking, and I said this to the Raptor, this wouldn't have been a hideous match for Punk to lose. Get it out of the way.
In all honesty, if he'd have lost there, I wouldn't have felt he was hurt in any way, because the showing they both put on. But I'm with you.
And also,
do the Kevin Nash on Goldberg early.
You get rid of it, because both him and Danielson are both going to be carrying this undefeated in, and then nobody will be the right person. I think it's going to hurt Danielson more, weirdly, than it will Punk, because I think
Yeah.
because of Punk's going through the young guys, so any of the young guys is going to be acceptable to the internet, inverted commas.
Punk has to lose to Hook.
Has
to lose to Hook. He has to send Hook.
Hook's a good choice. Or it's MJF.
Yeah, fair. MJF out of shitting
MJF nuclear heat.
A good point. That could be on either of them. But we'll talk more about MJF in the near future. More on that later.
Yeah, I gave that a B. Over to you again for the next match.
Right, Dark Order did a promo. They said they're on the same page and called out Adam Cole and the Bucks to protect Hangman because he's back now. It was heartwarming and skippable. Basically. Next match was Ruby Soho versus the Bunny. Ruby wins with a backslide, which I'm not against. You know, that's not like the roll up out of nowhere run. No entrance for Bunny. Felt bad for her. Taz sang Ruby Soho by Rancid, which brought me great joy because I love Taz on commentary so much. And you know what? It was solid. It was good. Well paced. The two of them seem to have some chemistry. I've been judgmental of the Bunny in the past, but honestly, she seemed on form in this one. We had some good strikes and bumps. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't perfect, but I would say it's better than what I often expect from some of the AEW women's matches. Solid. But I felt this is what I should expect from a women's match. We had enough story. I know what's going on. And the match was good enough, and I gave it a C, but in the way of this is what a C should be, if that makes you, if you get it.
Yeah. I enjoyed this. Raptor enjoyed this. Gave it a high C.
Yeah, exactly. We're on the right sort of page. Then, Bunny and Ford dubsy dubbed Ruby and knocked her in the face. Or more women's story that isn't about a championship, which, in all honesty, we've been needing for a while. Very fresh week this week. I might be saying a lot about stories. It might be it's a bit of a new season for AEW, as we often say. Well, once every couple of months we say. Would you agree?
Yeah. I think a lot of new stuff started to kick off. And again, I think we're more on that later.
Yeah, no, 100% more on that later. Then Mark Henry interviewed the Boomer People and the Inner Circle. Boomer People obviously solid, and Jericho obviously stole the moment at the end by being Jericho. He knows what the crowd are, and he knows how to work it. His Mark Henry bits are fine. I suppose it's an explanation for people who only watch Rampage, and God knows why you'd only watch Rampage. I say that this week, really good. Previously, not so good. And then it was the Boomers and MMA People versus the Inner Circle, or end of the year, Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky with Junior Del Santos against Sammy, Hager, and Jericho. Strong start with Sammy versus Scorpio. I'm going to say this repeatedly through this quick rundown, so I'm just going to get it out now. I'm sad Scorpio got such a beating in this match. He looked like the weakest person in the ring, and I'm a big fan of Scorpio. I know he's a phenomenal wrestler, but there's a criticism. Junior Del Santos didn't look so good against Jericho in his initial run-off against him, but he was much more comfortable against Hager, and those guys actually looked pretty good. The majority of picture-in-picture, Jericho ate some shit. I might be extra judgmental, but because of a problem with an online service, I watched this and actually had to suffer picture-in-picture, but it looked alright. Sammy's hot tag looked really good. I felt bad for Scorpio again. And then, obviously, the win with shenanigans for Scorpio, which sort of brought it back a bit. But I'd say it was all right. It was a solid match. Gave it a high C because I think most of the MMA guys looked good and have adjusted to the wrestling ring quite well. Yeah, it was all right.
So I gave it a B. I enjoyed this. I thought this was a good use. I agree with you. I think one of the reasons that Jericho was the first person going in with Santos was mainly to put the most experienced wrestler in there who can just lead him by the hand at the beginning, and just.
Whereas realistically, he didn't need that. He just needed to punch Hager.
And yes, but then also it was to set up for the Hager tag. You know, it was either going to be Sammy or Jericho had to set up for the Hager tag. Love the bit with Jake. Who'd have thought we'd have been cheering Jake Hager?
Mate, from the Lucha Underground, Jake Strong, was he in Lucha Underground? We fucking hated him.
Fucking whatever he was in Dub Z, to be fair.
I didn't watch
overly impressed when he turned up here, but God, he has won me over. Jack Swagger, that's it. But oh God, he has won me over in
Hasn't
AEW.
he?
And the Raptor.
I think they're not trying to promo him as being some kind of Nails guy. Now people just know he's Nails. He's established that reputation. So he can just sort of be like... I think he works better as like... a background big guy for the faces. He works better on the cuddly side than the I'm a badass side. Even though he is a badass, you know what I mean?
Yes. But yeah, I enjoyed the match. It was good. I'll mention the thing I was going to mention in the next bit.
The Dub stomp down afterwards.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the Boomers all have a big stomp on the Inner Circle, and Proud and the Powerful run down for the save in their cool face paint. It was good.
Yeah.
Glad they're back. I'm glad they've remembered the Inner Circle is a thing, because they kind of forgot that for a bit.
Yeah. It was a bit like, oh, the Inner Circle have reformed. It's like, well, they never really deformed, but okay.
Yeah. And I think that's it for all of Rampage.
Okay, have you got us a power of letter maths then?
Yeah, it looks like we've got a bunch of C's, a couple of high C's, and some B's, but I'm going to round it up to a low B. I think overall everything was good. This is, still good. A positive story. We got story over. We got things put through. The highlights were really good highlights, but otherwise it was solid wrestling, and nothing that disappointed. Which is often what can ruin a show, if you know what I mean.
There was no point classic Rampage squash.
Yes, no, exactly that.
We didn't have a Rampage women's squash match.
We're actually giving the women real matches.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know.
Thank you, AEW.
Yes. Well, they've got a strong women's division now. It's time to start using them.
It really is, especially when we've got possibly, including the darks. I think main dark is 2 hours and other dark is varying. I've got like 6 hours of wrestling a week. We can have some of the women's matches on the main screen. Come on. And they are. Hooray!
Okay, so moving on. Time for Dynamite. JR, Schiavone, Excalibur and CM Punk joins them on commentary. We open with Malachi Black versus Dante Martin with Leo Rush. Black wins with... I don't know what the move's called. It's basically the Black Mass.
Spinny kick.
Yeah, it's the really cool spinny kick that looks like he takes someone's head off. What did you think of the match and what score did you give it?
Well, first I'm going to address a thing I might come up a couple of times in this. I really like CM Punk on commentary. I think he's really good on commentary. I don't think he's ever going to be my favourite wrestler in the ring. I appreciate he's clean and he knows what he's doing. But on commentary, he's really fucking funny. So we can keep him. Anyway, this match, Malachi versus Martin. Okay, start. Bit of warming up between the two of them. But then obviously just good. Dante, I'm hoping they don't over-push him because that's what went wrong with Private Party, the other PNP. At the start, they got pushed a bit too far, but the boy is phenomenal, and Malachi is really good. I love the fact Malachi just started with limb work. He was like, nope, take away your legs. Fuck you. And that was quite good. Not the best showing for Dante because of that, because he didn't get to be quite as springy, but in all honesty, he probably needs to be a little bit less springy to ruin that Private Party problem I talked about, and they took it away with him with story, so that was nice. Malachi strikes, obviously great. He did a meteor and rolled through, and I love that. Pacing Dante with somebody like Malachi who can bring him down is going to do wonders for his health as well. Black picked up an injury, or at least I'm not sure when he got super injured on the ribs. It was nice to see a bit of torso work from him, but that could have been sold better to me. It was good. It wasn't great, but it was good. I gave it a high C to a B again. I'll go with a high C. I don't think it crossed B to me. I like the nod at the end as well. That was really cool. Actually, it's a nice little bit of character development. Isn't Malachi over? Fuck, the crowd love him.
That was why he did the nod. Sorry, dude, but you're about to lose one of your out-and-out heels. I'm hoping that they turn him into what you said last week. and we get
It's the
babyface
arrogance.
side tweener. Yeah, so you don't go full face, but you don't stay full heel, and you're just there to take out anyone who gets too cocky, because that leads up so well to when MJF is finally the world champion, and you keep Malachi Black away from MJF.
Lights go out, weird stretch-outy music starts playing.
And you watch MJF do his brilliant gulp sell, the proper heel sell. Yeah. At which point, the next thing, the lights go out, and then Wardlow's just vanished.
No, Wardlow has to break off with him before then. No more losses for Wardlow.
No, he's just vanished.
Yeah, fair.
So that MJF's not got any back. Anyway, that sounds like a booking on the fly. Yeah, really enjoyed this, and I think we are seeing the beginnings of them at least removing the complete heel persona of Malachi Black. I'm actually with you though. I hope they go more tweener with him. Embrace the cheers, but keep him being badass as fuck.
Like a tiny Kane.
Yes. Well, he is AEW's Undertaker.
Yeah, exactly that.
He's the only person who's allowed a inverted commas supernatural gimmick, because he teleports to the ring, but he doesn't. The lights are out long enough for him to walk there, so Tony Khan can
if he's got any supernatural power,
in his head.
He's got any supernatural power, it's how good is his night vision. He can get through those go out, and he's like midway down the ramp. So he has to like run, dive through the ropes, find the middle of the ring, and sit down. He must be like a cat.
It might. The Raptor did point out it's probably blacked out more on the TV screen. To be fair.
Yeah, fair.
Anyway,
don't ruin my dream.
Moving on from there, but no, that's exactly what I said to the Raptor. Following on from that, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus backstage interview, and they're attacked by the Elite. Any comments?
It was short, but it made the power bomb joke, and then when they got Luchasaurus up, him going, "Didn't you see how, when Kenny did it? He was shouting, "Didn't you see how strong I was?" I have to rank this a B simply because although it was short, it made me laugh enough because they ripped on themselves and made Kenny look goofy again, and I kind of love that.
Right, we finally mentioned him. I think it's the week after Full Gear. I get to meet Kenny Omega.
Woo!
I am so looking forward to that.
Should be badass.
I'm just going to talk to him about Final Fantasy VII till his ears bleed.
Oh God, weebs.
Yeah, feel sorry for him. Feel sorry for Luchasaurus. The Raptor is going to meet Luchasaurus.
Oh well, but I hope you both have
him
fun.
How he's an important role model for all young dinosaurs.
Make sure you film it.
She's gonna out Lucha. I'm gonna try my best. She's gonna out Luchasaurus. Anyway, moving on. We had the Inner Circle in-ring segment, which American Top Team interrupt. Any thoughts?
Could do with a break from this. I mentioned this earlier. I like the Boomer people. Santana actually getting to do his speech at the start was good. I like Santana. Like Jericho or not, he's got the bands. He threw back some insults at them. Yeah, it was all right. It was good. A solid wrestling segment, but I could do with a break from this plot now. So maybe I watched it 3 times in a row. But
yeah, I didn't mind it. It was all right. It was nice seeing a circle. But I did say to the Raptor that one of the problems with this is I don't think I've ever wanted a situation where I wish Brock Lesnar hadn't re-signed with Dub Z more than this storyline. Because this is the storyline. You've got America's Top Team out there hanging on Jericho, etc. And then you suddenly have some music hit and Brock Lesnar walked out. Preferably with Paul Heyman, who's mates with CM Punk. So you can it all links in. And yeah,
I'm gonna change my choice.
Moment.
I wish New Jack wasn't dead so they could have brought out New Jack.
But that's the thing, that we haven't got anyone who... It's just other members of the Inner Circle, and for something like this, it feels that the problem with this is it's a mid-card feud, which is what it should be, but it feels like it ought to be a top-of-the-card feud and should have a bigger name attached to it.
I don't know, maybe I'm just... And I hate Brock Lesnar matches, but love Brock as the weird comedy... strange, funny man that he is, jammed into all those steroids body.
Oh yeah, and I purely mean, as I say, I purely mean this just for I would have marked the fuck out Brock Lesnar at that moment if they'd got it. You've got nobody, and Brock Lesnar walked out. You'd have been like, Well, fuck you guys. This is the guy who could
you.
wrestle and rip you apart. Right, anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
So we had Los Superanas, what was it? The Super Frogs?
Super Frogs.
With Andrade versus the Lucha Brothers with Alex Abrahantes for the AAA Tag Team Champions. I'll cut to the chase. Los Superanas are unmasked as FTR, which I really enjoyed the commentary team just calling straight away.
I've got notes on that. It was great.
Then FTR win with a belt hit. What did you think of the match? What score did you give it?
Punk won me on commentary forever with his commentary on this match. And he was like, that's clearly FTR. Like, can't you... He made me laugh an awful lot. It distracted me from the start of the match a bit because of how much I was laughing at him. But that's okay. Not my favourite match. It was technically solid. We had a couple of Phoenix things. FTR seemed to sort of plummeted in power rating from what I expect from them. Picked up at the end with a lot of shenanigans. I can't say it was a bad match. Not really my sort of match, so I gave it a C for being good. But it didn't do a lot for me personally, shall we say.
Oh, we've got our first big difference.
Oh, what'd you give it?
I gave it a B. We really enjoyed this match. Everything about it, from the silly bit at the beginning, because we were expecting them to make Los Superanas AEW's Conquistadors, which could be anybody under the mask at any time. Yeah. But yeah, up to what I just enjoyed was a good tag team match between FTR and the Lucha Brothers. With babyface Lucha Brothers versus heel FTR. I just enjoyed it.
I'm glad you did. As I said, it wasn't technically bad. If I was ranking it from my soul, I probably had a worse time than a C, but we had some story, we had some stuff, three-ring circuses and all that. It was okay.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it.
Following on from that, Leo and Dante backstage interview. Thoughts?
Once again, Leo Rush continues to do Matt Hardy's gimmick, but better. Solid enough, explained some of his charm, got to look like a bit of a douche to Dante, and he's in a tag team now. Nothing wrong with it. It's mostly skippable, I'd say. That could have been announced by the announcer team.
Yeah, let's see where it goes.
Yeah.
Then a quick FTR, Andrade, and MJF backstage segment. I haven't really got anything to say about this. Have you?
I do, actually. I'm interested by this because this is one of the things that made me feel like a new season might be coming, because I like the deal on the stairs. It justified the previous match a bit more to me. I like shitty MJF and him obviously making a bit of an enemy of Andrade, because when Andrade followed him down the stairs with his eyes, it did look a bit like he was checking him out. I think it was for the sort of, who the fuck are you? So I think once the Pac storyline's gone out, we might see Andrade with his own rich boy sort of setup, turning on that. So I can't say it was magical, but it was definitely good enough to make a note of it, shall we say.
You're just hoping he brings Naito in, aren't you?
I mean, I don't think Naito will come. He's very much an NJPW boy, but I'll take Rush or any of the other Los Ignorables boys. But either way, I think there's a nice chance here. But for my taste, we need to get Andrade away from being a rich boy. I'll do that. He could steal Tully, bring in his wife, and I don't know if his father-in-law's been cleared for being a good guy or a bad guy yet. Who knows?
So then we had Wheeler Yuta with Orange Cassidy versus Mox. I'm just going to state it now. I gave this D squash.
Yeah, me too. The only thing I would say this could possibly have as a commentary on it is Mox entered and left really angrily and really brutally, and it could be the build to a heel turn with him, because now you could break up him and Eddie and it would be a brilliant storyline in the other direction.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is all starting to set towards Mox's heel turn.
Yeah, 100%. He didn't do any crowd stuff, and he loves a bit of crowd stuff normally.
Yeah. Following on from that, Serena Deeb backstage interview. Thoughts?
It was a full NWA promo. She did some talking to the mic, and then she was attacked with a scarf. Women's story. I can't say it's bad. It's women's storyline, not about the title. So it gets a C, but that's basically what happened.
Yes. Right. Moving on from there. Young Bucks and Adam Cole, the Super Elite, with Brandon Cutler and Don Callis versus Uno, Reynolds and Silver. Bucks and Cole win, and then Jungle Boy runs in to attack Cole. Thoughts and scores on the match?
I was slightly distracted from this match because I saw the biggest men in the universe stood behind the ring, stood at the ring apron when Evil Uno went past, and then I realised there was a small clan of like 6'8" bodybuilders there, and that did distract me a little bit, especially when they got up at one point. Anyway, this can often fall into what I often think of a more you match than a me match. That's not to say it's bad. It was good. It's what I expect. For the first half of it, the Elite were in control, and they did all their Elite things. They had super kicks, some flippy stuff, the usual, but it's not worth commenting on the original moments. Did go on for quite a little bit, and I was sort of eager for the Dark Order comeback, which obviously had to come post-break. Then Evil Uno got his little shenanigans run where he did his foot throw and a shoe steal and went for the mandible claw with the sock. And I loved him doing the mandible claw for the sock. It was it's always a nice little dedication. The Elite bouncy kick thing being stopped by the Dark Order and tripped, and them stealing the kisses on Adam Cole really, really pleased me. The Beaver Boys combo into Something Evil is great, and an extra double thing, because Something Evil is that fucking unwind cuttery DDT thing he does is great. Did have a Panama Sunrise, which I hate. I hate that move. I hate it so much. It didn't blow my mind. It had enough story going in, but I was definitely entertained and everything was clean in the ring. So, arguably, I could give it a high C just because I was entertained. It was a bit more circus than Lions for me, but good enough.
And we continue on with Morg's love of any clusterfuck involving the Young Bucks. Low B. So we're kind of round about the same place.
Yeah.
Low B.
I've got a story thing to add.
Go on.
Add this to you now. So, Cutler got beaten up again after this. Unless you want to talk about that after you've gone through the match. Sorry.
No. Go on.
It has to be Peter Avalon who comes to save Cutler one day.
Oh.
It has to be.
Yes.
Sorry, go back to your stuff. I'm just throwing that in because it's in the middle of my notes.
Bring back the initiative. No, that was it. Basically, Jungle Boy then runs in, attacks Cole, and Cutler's the one who ends up getting beaten up.
Yeah.
So, moving on. This is the thing I want to talk about. Cody and Arn segment. What did you think, and did you give it a score?
I have a problem with the Codyverse, and that's what it's getting known as on the internet, because the Codyverse doesn't seem to fit in with the rest of AEW. I'm all for a setup video package. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy a good setup video package. Cody arrives and he's like, "Oh, I can't believe you have the camera. Let me open this door." And then there are 4 wrestlers stood there who Arn's clone Brock, Velvet. I forget the other 2. Sorry, guys. Then they badly say lines about, "Oh, you have shown up." Then I quite like the training idea of Arn shouting random things and him getting fucking battered, but it also had like his stun deer sound effects. So it's not a video, it's not real, it's not a moment I'm watching or somebody filming bits. It's a setup video package for Cody to be told off and beaten up and then be like, "Yeah, you've got to be hard and teach Malachi a lesson." Arguably, it was produced well. But I don't. Where does it fit? Like, if it was comedy, like Release the Hounds and a stupid drone, it would be all right. But this looked like what I think Cody's going for: a trailer for a DC live action TV show on the Sci-Fi Channel. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it. Don't get it.
That's
do you
interesting. Me and the Raptor quite enjoyed this because it went for a different direction than we were thinking. It wasn't Arn turning on Cody or Cody turning on Arn. And we're both now actually, the Raptor very much so stated that she's actually invested in a Cody Rhodes storyline, which she hasn't been for a very long time.
Okay, fair, interesting.
It's actually made a little bit of investment. I don't think we really.
I think if it had presented itself better, I'd have liked it more. Basically.
Yeah, I quite liked the story outcome, so to speak, the setup for it all.
I'll give you that.
Arn's going to bring out his Glock. Right, moving on. MJF in-ring promo, calls out Darby Allin. Does the what? Darby got attacked by masked men last week.
Oh my god!
And then Sting interrupts, and Darby does his swallowing heel thing.
This was obviously fine. Fine filler. I don't have a lot to say about it. I'm glad the baseball bat had to be used on Wardlow to maintain how powerful he is. MJF solidly doing his shit. The biggest issue with this is you could really clearly see MJF's penis. Like, full outline and everything. It's slightly stuck up out over the edge of his coat as well. Really put me off watching. Well, not put me off. I was laughing, and my missus was laughing. I just couldn't get over it. Otherwise, fine filler. Obviously, you've got to maintain the storyline. Sting gets to come out, and I didn't hate it. Good. See? Nothing special, but,
Yep. It was the correct outcome for what was going on.
Yes, mate. Watch it again. Look at his penis.
I don't think I will. I was wondering whether this was going to be the setup for Punk actually coming out to defend Darby. That was the one bit that I was a little bit, is it going to be, was Punk going to, is that why he was on commentary? Was he going to suddenly rip off the headset just being sick to death of gobby MJF, and we were going to get the setup to that?
They've got to resolve. Darby's got to resolve it himself. It's fucking Darby.
Yeah, and I think Darby needs to win. Right, moving on from there. Very quick one. Anna Jay promo that is interrupted by Britt Baker.
I don't know why people don't stop Britt going wherever she wants, but it's another women's build, and Anna Jay's pretty good. So, solid. I'm happy to see more women's stuff.
And then we get Kiera Hogan versus Penelope Ford with the bunny. Ford wins by submission. Ruby runs in and attacks Penelope. Thoughts and scores on the match?
Once again, Punk got me here enough to note it down with joking about Kiera Hogan being related to Hulk Hogan. That, to the racism thing with Hulk Hogan, that made me laugh. Good work, Punk. All right start, and it went straight into picture-in-picture. Thanks. Got quite a big slow beat down, solid but uninspiring. Kiera's comeback post-break was good. I'd argue Kiera might have been the better wrestler in this match. Some nice chopper, some rotating sequences. Ford pulled off her handspring off the ropes into the cutter perfectly for once. Normally somebody's a bit out of position. It looks wonderful. So I'd say a dull start, strong finish, get a bit of story. Ford wasn't just smashed. It's another C.
Yeah, I gave it a C as well. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
And we had a bit of a continuation of story. Moving on from there.
These C's are better than what we've got. For a while, all we got was one women's squash match. So, and a C is good. It sounds bad because we're like, this is a fucking B and this is great. But no, C is good. I am pleased Ford has got better in the ring, got a story, got something to connect to, and I am really loving Ruby. Obviously.
I knew she'd be your new favourite.
Where's Punk clothes?
Punky female wrestler who's totally a punk. Yeah.
Mate.
So following on from that, something that I'm sure you didn't enjoy at all, Miro promo.
I was really worried about how things were going to go with Miro, obviously after he lost his title, and I was worried if they would sack off the Redeemer arc or that he'd have to do something else. God, he's fucking great. The War on God, Miro, Redeemer, fucking fallen angel of death, storming machine. He's badass. He's so good. He knows how to, fucking show himself in the square, just showing his overly fucking sculpted. I gave it an A. It's the perfect post-loss promo, and I loved it.
Yeah,
love him.
It was good. I knew you'd love it. So, following on from there, we had the Hangman in-ring interview. Any thoughts?
Don't know. I like Hangman, and I think he's a very good actor. And this was a good promo. Solid start, relatable, wholesome cowboy shit. He's a positive masculinity sort of chat, shall we say. I have complimented Macho Man on that before. Pretty solid, if non-committal. It's nice to have him back. I don't know. I think although he got some fire towards the end, I think I would have preferred a bit more badassery. Yeah, good. See, I don't know. I can't. Maybe I've rated it lower because I expected something a bit more high impact. What did you think? Sell me on
No, I think you're right. It was a very solid, and by solid I mean white meat babyface promo.
Yeah.
Which is what Hangman is. I mean, he is our babyface. He's there. He may not be their top babyface at the minute due to reasons, but he is still their top babyface, and he's their top up and coming babyface.
You probably never thought you'd hear these words from me. I think Hangman could do with taking a few promo guides from Cody. Early Cody, build-up hero, end on the high note. Yeah, we can do this. Keep the cowboy aggressiveness and the relatable guy that he is, because Cody Rhodes is not relatable. Just a bit more crowd work, a bit more hope.
When we first started doing this show, we used to always talk about how Cody was probably the best babyface promo out there. And Cody cutting a full babyface promo, he is absolutely solid, and I totally agree. Punk's obviously pretty solid, but his babyface promo is all about completely different things. It's all about him refinding his love for wrestling. Yes, I'm sure he could teach Hangman thing, but with Punk, you're just waiting.
It's not the direction.
You're waiting for him to turn heel. Yeah, and I think Cody would be the one to him to do a couple of classes, or Eddie. Just because Eddie can cut a promo about anything, on anything.
Just anyone. Everyone should spend an hour with Eddie.
Either being a heel or a face.
God, I love him.
But yeah.
Should have got his autograph that time I met him before he was really famous.
Right. So, main event. Bobby Fish versus Bryan Danielson. Bryan wins by submission. Thoughts and scores?
Right, I will say... I sound a bit critical of this. This is probably the weakest match from Danielson I've seen. Not to put the match down. And I'd arguably have given these men a night off as they fought in matches respectively the night before. And one of them was Danielson against Suzuki. But conveniently, commentary explained all that. So it made sense and it was in a story because they looked a little slower than they have in other matches, shall we say. I was obviously going to like this match. We get all the solid stuff. We get Danielson's fucking leg lock submission and stomp jump thing. Then Fish takes back the lead for a while and he's obviously solid. They pulls off a bunch of limb work on Danielson whilst he kept it up. It did slow down for a bit and went on for a bit. And obviously we hit the break where things maintain that pace with Fish in control. And I was waiting for the post-break pickup. And it did come. We got a lovely exchange of strikes and technical exchanges. Especially for the comeback. We got return. And I love Danielson doing the moves back on Fish that Fish did to him. Like, fuck you. I thought that was really cool. I like the legs on the post and stuff. Anytime I see an avalanche Falcon Arrow, I pop. I love the Falcon Arrow as a move. And when you avalanche it just looks amazing. Straight rolled through into the knee bar. A bunch of great submission spots. So it started slower and I don't know. I do always appreciate that NJPW match build. But it started slower and then it really escalated and we had story and commentary explained thing. So it went from a C at the start. Like, I'm being critical. All this was good enough for me to go, it's good. C. But by the end, it had ramped up to a B from me. And I love both these two. Their respective places on the card against each other. You know, lower striker, technical man who's very good, and murder vegan, the American Dragon.
Yeah, I gave it a B as well. I really enjoyed this. I knew I was going to enjoy this match. Getting to see this was one of my... When Bobby Fish turned up, this was on my list of dream Bobby Fish matches.
I'd never heard of him.
I know him from NXT. I believe he was big in Ring of Honor.
Yeah, fair.
And he was also part of Adam Cole's stable. I'm really hoping that they keep Bobby Fish. He's a perfect addition to their mid-card. Brilliant, because he's a perfect addition to their mid-card.
Yeah, no, he's strong style with a bit of extra flair is what I really like in wrestling. It's why I'll always applaud the mainly Japanese style of strong style with some lucha in there. You know, just... These guys look like they hurt each other. And Danielson, he's arguably on the face side of the storylines, but he does a lot of particularly brutal, heely submissions and nasty things. He's being sold as a face, but I don't know if he necessarily is yet, if that makes sense.
Yes. Only time will tell. I think he's going to be a face no matter what, and I think he's just going to be brutal. He's going to be a hard-hitting baby face. He's another person that MJF can do the gulp. And I use MJF as our standout guy for that, you know, because he's the cocky heel that'll try and avoid anything.
Who's going to beat Danielson, though?
I
know who's going to beat Danielson.
Who?
Well, there's going to be a tournament.
Yeah. Right, so put a pin in that, because I'm going to surprise you with that in a minute.
Woo!
Right, so there you have it. That's our roundup of this week's wrestling shows. What was our overall score for Dynamite?
It's somewhere between a C and a B, so I'm going to give it to a B. We had a good time. All the wrestling was solid. There was only one small downer moment, and that was Yuta getting smashed. I think we got a lot of story starts. A lot of solid to good wrestling. I'm giving it a B. Show +1. Good stuff.
There you have it. What did you think? You can get in touch with us. Wrestleopinionated@gmail.com, WrestleOp on Facebook, and WrestleOp1 on Twitter. So before we sign off, I wanted to sort of drop this one on you because it's quite interesting. Because nobody I expected to be in it is in the World Title Eliminator Tournament. The winner of which gets a match against either Hangman or Kenny. After
you have
Full
the
Gear.
Full list.
I have the full list.
Read them out to me.
Dark Order's 10 versus John Moxley. Orange Cassidy versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Dustin Rhodes versus Bryan Danielson. And Lance Archer versus Eddie Kingston.
Right.
Now,
so, you've got a bunch of storylines going in there.
Yeah.
You have one obvious person who can lose. That's 10.
Yes.
Sorry, 10. Now, you could lead to Mox versus Kingston in a final.
Ooh. Yeah.
That means, did you read them in bracket order as well?
Yes.
Okay, but that would lead to Kingston versus, I'm gonna say Daniel Bryan. I assume Dustin will be defeated by Bryan Danielson. At least he fucking well better. I know Dustin loves not to lose. Oh, so.
But is Eddie gonna beat Lance?
I don't think I'd buy it. I think I like Eddie, and I like Eddie a lot, but I think Lance I remember that last time where they had to put him in a bin and literally dent it round his fucking face with sticks. And then then Eddie would have to beat Bryan Danielson. So I'm gonna go with Lance against Bryan. I do think that it wouldn't hurt if Orange Cassidy lost to Hobbs. Have we had Orange Cassidy versus Moxley ever?
I think. Oh, I'm not sure. And if Moxie's possibly setting up to turn heel,
Mox is setting up to turn heel, you probably want him to destroy Orange Cassidy.
Yeah.
So that leaves Mox for his heel turn, which means you either get him against American Dragon or him against Lance again, which I'm not against seeing because I love Lance. But we've seen it a bunch of times.
We haven't seen Mox versus Bryan Danielson.
We
I'm
haven't.
not entirely convinced that since the Shield days we have seen Mox versus Bryan Danielson.
Right. Then Bryan Danielson can win that, turning Moxley fully on his heel turn. Because he's taken a big loss and he'll probably have the shit kicked out of him because the American Dragon is a plant-based Terminator. Which means Danielson can take his first loss to whoever has the title belt at that point.
Better be fucking Hangman.
And that's a worthy showing for if we have a new champion at that point. A chance for him to show how hard and powerful he is at new champion. Or it's a rematch between Danielson and Kenny Omega, which nobody's going to be sad to see either.
That's true.
That my predictions using the power of having watched too many stories and read a bunch of comics this week.
So there you go. Pretty much, I'm on the same page as you. I can't give any different reactions to what other than you just said. I think that's the way.
I mean,
to
if
go.
Eddie beats Lance somehow, we can have a Mox versus Eddie final for the breakup, which would be pretty fucking sick.
Yeah.
Other combos I'd like to see. Yeah, I could take Eddie versus Moxley. I could take Bryan Danielson versus Orange Cassidy.
Oh,
we could take that.
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't know how him versus Pac was gonna work, and every time they fought, I've loved it. So, also that would drop Mox and Kingston both out in the first round, which leads to them being quite defeated, which can also turn to a heel turn. I still think Bryan Danielson would win over Orange Cassidy, though.
Oh, yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. Right, there you have it. That's our show for the week. You can find us Wrestleopinionated on YouTube, Spotify and Anchor.fm. I just want to thank Anchor.fm for hosting our podcast. Over to you, Mr. Strange.
Thank you for listening. Please do click the like button, or if you really didn't like it, click the dislike button. Any response on YouTube helps your numbers, but we prefer likes. Please click your positivity on whatever rating scale there is. Little hearts on Spotify, whatever's on Anchor. Tell your friends, share us. It would be lovely to make it to 15 listeners. But we do appreciate all of you. If you have any questions, send them in. We'll talk about fucking anything. But otherwise, thank you for listening. Click the positive things. Back to you, Morg.
So all that's left to be said is goodbye and good night.